The lunch bell rang through Westfield Academy's corridors, and students flooded into the cafeteria like a tide. Sunlight poured through tall windows, illuminating rows of tables where hundreds of teenagers gathered with their trays. The air hummed with laughter, gossip, and the clatter of silverware against plastic plates. Maya Torres sat alone at a corner table, her brown eyes fixed on the simple sandwich before her. Her scholarship covered tuition, books, and little else. She wore the standard uniform, a navy skirt and white blouse, both showing signs of careful mending. Her dark curls were pulled back in a practical ponytail. She preferred this spot, tucked away from the main flow of traffic, where she could eat in peace and remain unnoticed. But Brittany Ashford had other plans. Brittany swept into the cafeteria like royalty entering court. Her designer backpack swung from one shoulder, her blonde hair fell in perfect waves, and her uniform somehow looked expensive, despite being identical to everyone else's. Two friends flanked her, phones already out and recording. Brittany's family practically owned half the town, and she made sure everyone at Westfield knew it. She spotted Maya immediately, the quiet scholarship girl who never fought back, never complained, never gave her the satisfaction of a reaction. That silence infuriated Brittany more than any insult could have. Brittany approached Maya's table, her heels clicking deliberately on the tile floor. She stopped beside the seated girl and smiled, but there was nothing warm in it. "Still eating your sad little lunch alone?" Brittany's voice carried across nearby tables. Students turned to watch. Several pulled out their phones. Maya looked up briefly, then returned her attention to her food. She took a bite of her sandwich, chewing slowly, her expression neutral. The lack of response made Brittany's jaw tighten. She wanted fear, wanted tears, wanted power. Instead, she got nothing, so she escalated. With a theatrical gesture, Brittany accidentally knocked over her soda. The cold liquid splashed across Maya's white shirt, soaking through the fabric. Gasps and laughter erupted around them. Phone cameras captured every second. "Oops," Brittany said, her voice dripping with false concern. "How clumsy of me. Though I suppose your shirt is used to being dirty." Maya stood slowly, dabbing at the stain with a napkin. Her movements were careful, controlled. She didn't tremble, she didn't cry. She simply cleaned herself off, her face showing no emotion whatsoever. That composure shattered something in Brittany. She wanted a reaction, needed proof that she was the one in control. And so, in front of hundreds of witnesses and dozens of recording phones, Brittany drew back her hand and slapped Maya hard across the face. The crack echoed through the suddenly silent cafeteria. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Everyone stared. Phones captured the red mark blooming on Maya's dark skin, the way she stood perfectly still, arms at her sides, breathing steady. Her eyes remained fixed on Brittany, deep and calm as still water. "You don't belong here," Brittany hissed, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Girls like you only survive on pity. You're nothing." Maya touched her cheek briefly, then lowered her hand. When she spoke, her voice was quiet but crystal clear. "Is that what you needed to prove?" The question hung in the air. Brittany's face flushed red. "You think you're better than me? Look at yourself. Shabby clothes, cheap shoes. You're trash compared to everyone here." Maya's expression didn't change. Inside, she heard her mother's voice from years ago, during training sessions that felt like a lifetime away. "Breathe from your center, mija. True strength is not about force, it's about balance. About knowing who you are, even when the world tries to tell you otherwise." Oh, what none of these students knew, what Brittany couldn't possibly imagine, was that Maya had once stood on national podiums. She had been photographed holding gold medals, featured in martial arts magazines as a rising star. Before her family lost everything, before her father disappeared under the weight of bankruptcy and shame, before her mother traded her coaching career for night shifts, cleaning office buildings, Maya Torres had been a champion, 3 national titles before the age of 15, a black belt earned through discipline and dedication, awards that now gathered dust in a cardboard box, hidden away along with the girl she used to be. But that girl wasn't gone. She was just waiting. By the end of the school day, the video had exploded online. The hashtag started trending within hours. Students who had filmed from different angles compiled their footage, comment sections filled with mockery and speculation. She just stood there. Why didn't she fight back? Brittany owned her. Maya walked home alone, as always. The apartment she shared with her mother was small, located in the older part of town where rent was affordable and buildings showed their age. She changed out of her stained uniform and sat at the kitchen table, her homework spread before her. Her mother wouldn't be home until after midnight. 3 cleaning jobs kept them afloat, kept Maya in school, kept hope alive that education might lead somewhere better. Maya opened a drawer and pulled out an old photograph. In it, a younger version of herself stood beaming in a white karate gi, a gold medal around her neck. Her mother stood beside her, proud and strong, still believing the world was full of possibilities. She traced the image with one finger, then put it away. The next morning, Westfield Academy buzzed with energy. The video had been shared thousands of times, students clustered in groups, watching it on repeat, dissecting every second. Brittany held court in the main hallway, surrounded by admirers, basking in her viral moment. Maya arrived to find "Scholarship Trash" written on her locker in permanent marker. She cleaned it off without comment, gathered her books, and headed to class. In English literature, Brittany sat behind her, whispering just loud enough to be heard. "I heard your mom cleans the bathrooms at the medical center. Does she use the same mop for all of them, or does she have a special one for the toilets?" Snickers rippled through nearby desks. Maya kept her eyes on her textbook, her pen moving steadily across her notebook. Her handwriting remained neat, controlled, each letter perfectly formed. Marcus Chen, who sat next to her, noticed. He'd always noticed Maya, the way she carried herself with quiet dignity despite everything. "Why don't you report her?" he whispered. Maya shook her head slightly. "Words only have the power we give them." At lunch, Brittany orchestrated another performance. This time she brought a mop and bucket into the cafeteria, presenting them to Maya with exaggerated ceremony. "I brought your mum's work supplies. I figured you'd feel more at home." The cafeteria erupted in laughter. Phones appeared instantly, recording the humiliation. Maya looked at the mop, then at Brittany. "My mother works 3 jobs to give me opportunities. She's stronger than you'll ever understand." Something flickered in Brittany's eyes, quickly masked by anger. "Your mother is a janitor. You're a charity case. And tomorrow, I'm going to prove to everyone that you're as weak as you look." "How?" Maya's voice remained steady. Brittany smiled, knowing her announcement would go viral within minutes. "Meet me in the gymnasium after school tomorrow. No teachers, no interruptions, just you and me. Unless you're too scared." The crowd went wild. Students started placing bets immediately. The social media frenzy intensified. Within hours, the challenge was the only thing anyone at Westfield could talk about. That night, Maya stood alone in her tiny bedroom. She opened the closet and pulled out a box she hadn't touched in 3 years. Inside lay her karate gi, folded carefully, the black belt wrapped around it. She lifted the uniform, feeling its familiar weight in her hands. Memories flooded back, the gymnasium where she'd trained every day after school, the sound of her sensei's voice calling out combinations, the feeling of executing a perfect roundhouse kick, the pride in her mother's eyes every time she won a medal. All of it had ended so abruptly. Her father's business collapsed. Debts piled up. Their house was foreclosed. Her father left in the middle of the night, unable to face the failure. Her mother, once a respected martial arts instructor, took whatever work she could find. Maya had boxed up her trophies, put away her GI, and decided to become invisible. If she couldn't be a champion anymore, she would be nothing. Silent, unseen, safe, but silence had only made her a target. She held the G against her chest and closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed, falling into the rhythm her sensei had taught her years ago. 4 counts in, hold 4 counts out, the meditation of warriors. "I'm still here," she whispered to herself. "I never stopped being strong. I just forgot." The next day, Westfield Academy felt like a carnival. Students who normally left immediately after final bell lingered in the hallways. The gymnasium filled an hour before the scheduled confrontation. Someone set up a makeshift commentary table. Others positioned themselves around the space with phones ready, ensuring every angle would be captured. Brittany arrived first, dressed in expensive athletic wear. She'd clearly prepared, stretching ostentatiously, showing off moves from the expensive dojo her parents paid for. The crowd cheered her name. She waved like a prize fighter entering the ring. Then Maya appeared. She still wore her regular school uniform, no special preparation, no costume change. Just the same navy skirt and white blouse, the same practical shoes. Her hair was pulled back in its usual ponytail. The crowd's excitement faltered. This didn't look like someone ready for a fight. It looked like someone who'd wandered in by mistake. "She actually showed up," someone whispered. "This is going to be painful to watch," another voice added. Maya walked to the center of the gymnasium floor, her footsteps echoing in the suddenly quiet space. She faced Brittany, her dark eyes calm and focused. Brittany smirked. "Last chance to run away, scholarship girl." Maya shook her head slowly. "No more running. No more silence. If you want to do this, then let's do it." The crowd erupted. Phones lifted. Someone started a live stream that immediately attracted thousands of viewers. The gymnasium transformed into an arena with 2 17-year-old girls at its center. Brittany moved first, launching into an aggressive combination she'd learned at her expensive classes. Her form was showy, but fundamentally flawed. She telegraphed every movement, her weight distribution off balance. Maya simply stepped aside. Brittany's punch met empty air. She stumbled slightly, recovered, and attacked again. A high kick that looked impressive but lacked real power or precision. Maya ducked under it effortlessly. For 2 full minutes, Brittany threw everything she had at Maya. Punches, kicks, wild combinations meant to overwhelm. But Maya didn't fight back. She didn't need to. She simply moved, flowing around each attack like water around stones. Her footwork was minimal, efficient, precise. She never retreated, just redirected, letting Brittany exhaust herself. The crowd's cheers began to falter. Something was wrong. Brittany was supposed to dominate, but she couldn't land a single hit. Meanwhile, Maya looked completely calm, her breathing steady, her expression neutral. "Why isn't she fighting back?" someone asked. "Look at how she moves," Marcus said from the crowd, his eyes wide. "That's not luck. That's training." Brittany's face grew red with exertion and frustration. She threw a wild haymaker, putting all her strength behind it. Maya caught her wrist mid-swing. In one fluid motion, she stepped inside Brittany's guard, pivoted, and used the momentum to send Brittany spinning off balance. Before the blonde girl could recover, Maya had positioned herself perfectly and executed a textbook armlock, dropping Brittany to her knees on the gymnasium floor. The crowd went silent. Brittany struggled against the hold, but Maya's technique was flawless. The pressure was firm but controlled, enough to immobilize but not to injure. "Let me go," Brittany gasped, her voice cracking. Maya's voice remained calm, but loud enough for everyone to hear. "I could have ended this fight in the first 10 seconds. I chose not to. Do you understand why?" Brittany struggled again, tears of humiliation forming in her eyes. "Because fighting isn't about hurting someone," Maya continued. "It's about discipline. about respecting the power you have and choosing not to abuse it, something you never learned. She released the hold and stepped back. Brittany collapsed forward, catching herself on her hands, breathing hard. The expensive athletic wear was rumpled and sweat-stained. Her perfect hair had come loose. Most importantly, her mask of superiority had completely shattered. The gymnasium remained silent for another heartbeat. Then someone began to clap. Another person joined. Within seconds, the entire space erupted in applause and cheers. But they weren't for Brittany. "Maya! Maya! Maya!" The chant built, echoing off the gymnasium walls. Brittany looked up, mascara running down her face. "Who are you?" she whispered. Maya stood tall, her posture perfect, her breathing still controlled. "I'm Maya Torres, three-time National Youth Karate Champion. I stopped competing 3 years ago when my family lost everything. I thought hiding was the answer. I thought silence would protect me. But you taught me something important, Brittany. Sometimes the only way to end bullying is to stand up and show the truth." The crowd went wild. Phones captured every word. Within minutes, old news articles and competition photos of young Maya Torres began circulating online. The narrative flipped instantly. The quiet scholarship girl wasn't weak at all. She was a champion who had been hiding in plain sight. Marcus pushed through the crowd. "I knew there was something about you. The way you carried yourself. The discipline in everything you did." Brittany struggled to her feet, her whole body shaking. The phone cameras captured her humiliation from every angle. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She was supposed to be the victor, not the one kneeling on the floor while her victim received applause. Maya turned to face her. "You demanded a public confrontation. You wanted everyone to witness what you thought would be my humiliation. Instead, they witnessed the truth. Now, you owe me something." "What?" Brittany's voice was barely audible. "An apology, right here, right now, in front of everyone." The crowd pressed closer. The live stream viewer count had passed 100,000. This moment would be recorded forever. Brittany's hands clenched into fists. Every instinct screamed at her to refuse, to run, to maintain some shred of dignity. But she'd made the rules. She'd demanded this public stage, and now she had to face the consequences. She started, her voice breaking. "I apologize to Maya Torres for the slap in the cafeteria, for the harassment, for everything." "That's not enough," someone in the crowd called out. "Tell the truth. Tell everyone why you did it." Brittany's face crumpled. "I was jealous," she finally admitted, tears streaming down her face. "When I found out about Maya's family losing everything, I thought it meant I'd always be better than her, but deep down I knew it wasn't true. I was scared that even with nothing, she was still stronger than me. So I tried to break her before she could show everyone what I already knew." The gymnasium fell silent again. The confession hung in the air, raw and honest and devastating. Maya stepped forward. She placed a hand on Brittany's shoulder, not in dominance, but in something closer to understanding. "Thank you for telling the truth. That's the first step toward actually changing." At the back of the gymnasium, a door opened. Mrs. Torres stood there in her blue cleaning uniform, mop bucket beside her. She'd just arrived for her evening shift and had heard the commotion. Her eyes found her daughter standing proud and tall in the center of the gym, surrounded by cheering students. Their gazes met across the distance. Maya smiled, really smiled, for the first time in years. Mrs. Torres pressed a hand to her heart, tears streaming down her face. Her daughter had found her way back, not to championship trophies or glory, but to something more important: the strength to be herself, the courage to stand tall, the wisdom to show mercy, even in victory. The story spread far beyond Westfield Academy. Local news picked it up, then regional media. Within a week, the confrontation had been viewed millions of times, but the narrative wasn't about the fight itself. It was about resilience, about hidden strength, about the quiet people who carry power they never asked for. The school administration had no choice but to act. Brittany was suspended. Her father, whose influence had allowed the unsupervised confrontation, faced scrutiny from other board members. New anti-bullying policies were implemented immediately. But the most significant change came from Maya herself. She proposed starting a martial arts club at Westfield, not for competition, but for confidence, for teaching other students who felt powerless that they had strength within them. The principal approved it immediately. The first meeting drew over 50 students. Many had been bullied themselves, others had been bystanders who wanted to do better. Maya stood before them in her old karate gi, the black belt tied around her waist, and spoke with quiet authority. "We're not training to fight. We're training to stand, to breathe, to know that our worth isn't determined by what others say about us. True strength is internal, and every single one of you already has it." Over the following months, Westfield Academy transformed. The hallways felt different. Students who had once cowered began walking with their heads up. The culture of fear that Brittany had cultivated crumbled, replaced by something healthier. Brittany herself returned from suspension changed. She joined Maya's martial arts club, working in the back row, saying nothing, just learning. It would take time for her to rebuild trust if she ever could. But she showed up. She tried. And slowly, Maya noticed improvement not just in her technique, but in her character. One afternoon, 6 months after the confrontation, Maya stood in the gymnasium alone. She'd just finished leading practice. Sweat dampened her GI, her muscles pleasantly tired from a good workout. Mrs. Torres appeared in the doorway, no longer in her cleaning uniform. She'd been hired as an assistant coach at a local dojo, returning to the work she loved. The family still struggled financially, but things were improving. "I'm proud of you, Mija," her mother said, walking across the floor. "Not for winning that fight, but for turning it into something that helps others." Maya hugged her mother tightly. "You taught me everything that mattered. The karate was just technique. The real lesson was dignity, perseverance, knowing who I am, even when the world tried to make me forget." Outside, the sun was setting over Westfield Academy. Students left in groups, laughing and talking. Many wore the simple white t-shirts printed with the martial arts club logo. The design showed a single figure standing tall, with words beneath it that Maya had chosen herself. "Silence is not weakness, but neither is it the only answer."